Hey everybody, this is my 20 long office tank, and tonight I think I'm just going to do a simple before and after water change. I'd come in here just to top it off. I was going to add a gallon, maybe 2 gallons of water, whatever it took to get it fully topped off, because the water is getting a little bit low there. And I decided that it is kind of low, so rather than top it off, let's get in there and actually do a real water change. You can tell by the trickle of the filter that that's probably getting pretty clogged up and needs to be changed. So it's time to do a little bit of maintenance, and we're going to get in there and do that tonight. I will probably do a little bit of gravel vacuuming, not a lot. I do have rooted plants in this tank, and if you do too much gravel vacuuming when you've got plants that are rooted into the substrate, you'll disturb the roots and wind up doing more damage than good. So we'll do a superficial sort of vacuuming. We can get this corner a little bit. We can sort of knock that piece of wood around a little bit, and you know, the stuff that collects underneath of that. And of course we can move through the dense vegetation and knock anything loose that's in there while we're doing it. I am going to step up on my step stool here for a moment. A while ago I had to tie this little piece of string on because this was falling over, and you can now see the piece of string has gone completely slack. So that's definitely standing up on its own, and it's quite durable. Getting lots and lots of purple flowers all over it, so I'm really happy about that. And it just keeps on getting taller. I actually had to raise the level of the light again. It's still 4 inches away, 5 inches away. So it's going to be time to raise the level of the light again. It just keeps on creeping up and putting out new growth. And I'm getting little flower growth starting out here on the tips of these branches. So it's getting to be quite a plant. And I'm wondering, as flowering annuals go, is this going to do its thing and then die? Are we about to see the end of this plant? I suspect we are. I think we're going to see this plant finish flowering, and then it's going to start losing its leaves and dying back, and it's going to be done for the year. So I'll probably have to get another cutting and start over, but that's fine. That's part of gardening. I also wanted to have a look into the tank from the top while we were standing here. It's always fun looking down on an open top tank, but I also wanted to show how we've got all of the little fallen flower petals floating on the water surface. I really enjoy looking at that too when I come over here to feed the tank. So lastly, I will point out that I am still a little concerned about my Bolivian ram here. I've never had good luck with medicating fish, and I'm not sure whether he needs medication or not. He's behaving normally, and yesterday I actually saw him swim up to the surface and actively feed at the surface with the other fish, which he doesn't normally do. He normally waits till the stuff falls to the bottom and he picks it up. But it still looks really skinny. It looks like it's got a sunken belly. And for all the time I've had it, it should definitely not have a sunken belly anymore. I mean, it looks like it's fresh from the fish store. It's so thin. And that just doesn't look right to me. Again, I got nothing else to go on other than it just doesn't seem to be putting on weight the way it should. The one I have down in my 29 in the basement is much hardier looking than this. I know it's hard to get a good look at what I'm talking about, but at the right angle you can see behind its pectoral fins it's almost concave. It actually goes in behind the pectoral fins. At the very least it should be flat. But in reality, it should bulge out a little bit. The fish should have a little bit of roundness to it. It should not be sunken in like that. So that concerns me. I've only had it for a few weeks, so it's still entirely possible that it's got something wrong with it, or digestional issues, or who knows what. So we'll see. Again, I'm not sure if I'm ready to do the medication route, but that's a possibility that lies down the road. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get on with the water change. You can consider that a very lengthy before. And there's your after. So I actually did a bit more of a water change than I was planning on. Not volume-wise necessarily, but work in the tank. I did wipe the glass down for whatever it's worth. I didn't wipe down too much in the middle because it's so dark, nothing really grows on the glass. But especially on the far right side where the light shines more, And then, of course, occasionally when the curtains are open, some sun shines in, the afternoon sun shines in. So I do get a little bit of growth on that front glass, and so we wiped that down. Hard to even tell, but I did it. And then when I changed the filter pad out, I noticed that the flow of water did not really increase. So I checked the biosponge, the black filter. That will get dirty and crudted up enough that occasionally you do need to rinse that out a little bit. Be careful not to do too much damage to your nitrogen cycle when you do that, but it does need to be cleaned occasionally. But that was clear too. So I checked my intake tube, and while the bottom end of it was a little bit clogged up with some baby Java Windelov here, which I do have for sale, and the stuff I collected out of the tank is now down in my grow out tank. So if you're interested in that, I'll put my email down below and we can talk about that if you contact me. So I do have the Java Windelov, I've got regular Java Fern, and of course I've always got tons of Water Sprite available if you're interested. But while there was a lot of the little babies collected around the intake, that was not the problem either. Occasionally those tubes just get gunked up, and right where the impeller is, which is all the way up at this end, it goes up and over and down, and that's where the impeller is, that was gummed up. And so I had to pull the whole thing out and clean it out and rinse it in the sink and get it all undone. And now we have, I know it's kind of hard to tell because I have the water level up so much, but now we've got a pretty vigorous flow. So I really like these filters. They run forever. They're super quiet. You never have any problems with them. It's the Tetra Whisper series. You've got a variety of different sizes depending on the tank. That is the 20. I normally go with one that is rated for a larger tank. I would normally put like a 30 or 40 on a 20-gallon tank like this, but all I had lying around was a 20, so I put it on here. And it does a good enough job. I don't have this tank real heavily stocked, so I don't really need a huge amount of filtration on here. And with it at full flow, because it does have an adjustable flow rate on it, and at full flow, the 20 seems to do a pretty good job here on this 20 long. So I'll put a link down below as well if you're interested in the Tetra Whisper series filters. Again, I really like them. I've been using them for years. They're inexpensive and they just run and run and run. Very simple, basic filter. If you're looking for something fancy that does a lot of bells and whistles and stuff like that, that's probably not going to be for you. But if you want something that's basic, simple, and works, that's a good filter. So the string came down and is no longer attached to my swamp weed, as it is sometimes called, or temple plant. And that's about all I can think of. I didn't really do anything else. I also wanted to point out, I know some people have mentioned this in the past, I've got one of the Rasboras in there somewhere. Let's just say is listing hard to starboard. There it is in there somewhere, swimming around. Yeah, there it is, that little tiny one. It swims half on its side. It zooms around the tank. It's done that since I've gotten it. I don't think it's ever going to get any better. I assume it's probably going to have a somewhat reduced lifespan, but it has been doing that for quite a while now, so I'm not too worried about it. That's just the way that fish is. It's just got something wrong with it, so I'm not really worried about it transmitting anything else to any of the other fish or any diseases like that. Again, it's just a fish that didn't develop properly and it's having issues, and again, it's probably going to die young, and one day we just won't have to worry about that fish being in there anymore. So that's about the end of that. So that's all I can really think of. 5-gallon water change, briefly wiped down the glass, changed the filter pad, cleaned out the filter intake, removed a few of the floating plants and some of the Java Fern. Again, don't forget to check the email down below if you're interested in buying any of the Water Sprite, Java Fern, or anything else I might have. If you email me, we can talk about it. So thanks for watching this one. Don't forget, it is my 20-gallon office tank. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.